What if I told you that not everything you see in WWE is as controlled as it looks? That behind the scripts, behind the rehearsed promos, there are moments where things genuinely fall apart, and when they do, the reactions you see are 100% real. Because today, you're not just watching a list, you're about to see exactly what happens when WWE superstars stop acting and start feeling real anger live in front of the world. In the world of WWE, everything is supposed to run like a machine. Every move, every word, every reaction is carefully planned out to create the perfect show. But no matter how controlled things are, there are moments when real emotions break through, moments where frustration, anger, and tension can't be hidden anymore. And when that happens, it creates something unforgettable, because you're no longer watching a performance, you're watching reality slip through the cracks. So let's get right into it. The rivalry between Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio in 2005 was already one of the most unusual storylines WWE had ever presented. It wasn't just about competition, it became deeply personal, centered around Dominic, Rey's real-life son. That alone made the story feel intense, unpredictable, and at times even uncomfortable. But despite all of that, Eddie and Rey still delivered incredible matches that perfectly captured the energy of that era. Everything built toward their ladder match at SummerSlam, where the stakes were as bizarre as they were dramatic. Custody of Dominic, represented by a briefcase hanging above the ring. WWE wanted the finish to be emotional and shocking, with Vickie Guerrero playing a crucial role by betraying Eddie at just the right moment. But that's not how things went. In the final moments, Vickie came in too early, completely throwing off the timing of the finish. Suddenly, everything became chaotic. Eddie and Rey had to improvise on the spot, trying to salvage the ending while staying in character. But for someone like Eddie Guerrero, who was known for his precision and attention to detail, that kind of mistake was hard to accept. And that's when it showed. Right there in the ring, Eddie's frustration boiled over. He shouted, clearly upset, no longer able to hide it behind the performance. It didn't feel like part of the story, it felt real. It was the reaction of someone who knew exactly how important timing was, watching a crucial moment fall apart live on one of the biggest stages. Moving forward, there was a time when WWE was fully committed to making Roman Reigns the face of the company. He had everything: look, presence, and the kind of aura that made him feel like a top star. But there was always one area where fans remained divided: his promo work. That tension came to a head during the build to his match with John Cena at No Mercy 2017. During a contract signing on Raw, what was supposed to be a standard promo segment quickly turned into something much more uncomfortable. Cena didn't hold back. He went after Roman with sharp, cutting lines, calling him overprotected and questioning whether he truly earned his spot. Then came the moment no one expected. Roman paused. For a few seconds, he completely froze. The silence was awkward and brutal. Cena immediately capitalized, delivering the line that made the entire arena erupt. And just like that, the segment shifted from scripted entertainment to something that felt painfully real. Roman's reactions said everything. The anger in his eyes, the way he fired back, it wasn't just part of the act anymore. It felt like genuine frustration from someone who had just been exposed in front of millions. Even though he tried to recover, the moment stuck. But in a strange way, that night became a turning point, because years later, Roman would evolve into a completely different performer, more confident, more controlled, and far more commanding. That uncomfortable moment didn't break him, it forced him to grow. For someone like The Undertaker, wrestling was never just about showing up and getting through a match. It was about pride, about delivering something meaningful every single time he stepped into the ring. So when he faced Goldberg at Super Showdown 2019, expectations were high, but concerns were there too. And unfortunately, those concerns became reality almost immediately. Things started going wrong early, and they just kept getting worse. Mistakes piled up, dangerous moments unfolded. At one point, Goldberg nearly dropped Undertaker on his head during a jackhammer. Later, both men struggled to execute moves cleanly, creating an atmosphere that felt more worrying than exciting. At that point, the match wasn't about quality anymore, it was about ending it safely. Undertaker adjusted on the fly, finishing the match quickly. But what stood out most wasn't the performance, it was his reaction afterwards. The frustration on his face, the disappointment in his body language, it was impossible to miss. This wasn't anger expressed through shouting, it was something quieter but just as powerful. The frustration of someone who held himself to the highest standard and knew that what just happened fell way below it. There was a time when WWE's women's division didn't get the attention or respect it deserved. Matches were short, storylines were limited, and many talented performers were left without real opportunities. Gail Kim was one of them, but she refused to stay silent. During a battle royal on Raw in 2011, instead of competing like everyone else, she did something completely unexpected. She eliminated herself. It wasn't an accident, it wasn't part of the plan, it was a statement. A clear message that she was frustrated with how things were being handled and that she'd reached her limit. Shortly after, she left WWE entirely. That moment wasn't loud or dramatic, but it spoke volumes. Sometimes anger doesn't come out in explosions. Sometimes it shows itself in decisions that say everything without a single word. At one point, Kofi Kingston seemed ready to break through to the next level. He had momentum, fan support, and the kind of performances that made people believe he could become a top star. But in WWE, one moment can change everything. During a match involving Randy Orton and John Cena, the finish didn't go as planned. Kofi missed his timing slightly, disrupting the sequence. Orton's reaction was immediate. After hitting the RKO, he shouted in frustration, loud enough for everyone to hear. This wasn't part of the show, it was real irritation from someone who expected precision and didn't get it. That moment reportedly had lasting consequences for Kofi's push, and while he would eventually reach the top years later, that incident remained a reminder of how quickly things can shift. Not all anger in WWE happens in matches, sometimes it happens in promos when emotions take over and control slips. During a 2013 segment involving the Rhodes family and the Authority, something unexpected happened between Dusty Rhodes and Stephanie McMahon. Dusty, known for his old-school style, didn't stick strictly to the script. At one point, he raised his hand, cutting Stephanie off mid-promo. Her reaction was instant. She knocked his hand away forcefully. It didn't feel planned, it felt real. The tension between them was undeniable, and it carried through the entire segment. Even after the cameras stopped rolling, that moment reportedly stuck backstage as something that had gone beyond the usual boundaries. The 2015 Royal Rumble is remembered for all the wrong reasons. The crowd was unhappy, the booking didn't land, and the atmosphere turned negative fast. Roman Reigns winning didn't sit well with fans, and anyone associated with that moment felt the backlash. Even The Rock. When he came out to support Roman, it should have been a huge moment. Instead, the crowd responded with boos. And for once, The Rock didn't look in control. He looked confused, irritated. His expression told the story. This wasn't the reaction he expected, and it clearly frustrated him. Sometimes, even the biggest stars can't control the crowd, and when that happens, the reaction can feel very real. Shawn Michaels in the 90s was known for being incredibly talented, but also incredibly intense. He demanded perfection, and when things didn't go his way, his frustration showed. During his match with Vader at SummerSlam 1996, things weren't clicking. Timing was off, chemistry wasn't there, and at one point, Shawn snapped. He yelled at Vader mid-match and even kicked him out of frustration. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't hidden, it was a clear moment where emotion took over. That same intensity showed up in other moments too, including interactions with crew members when things didn't go as planned. For Shawn, everything had to be right, and when it wasn't, he didn't hold back. Ricochet's situation was different. His frustration didn't explode, it faded into something quieter. After being positioned for a big opportunity against Brock Lesnar, things quickly went downhill. Losses piled up, momentum disappeared, and it became clear that he was slipping down the card. After one particular loss, his reaction said everything. He walked away, threw his wrist tape down, and didn't even acknowledge the crowd. No shouting, no outburst, just visible disappointment. And sometimes that kind of anger hits even harder. Brock Lesnar, on the other hand, doesn't do quiet anger. During a match at the Royal Rumble 2018, a stiff shot from Braun Strowman crossed the line, and Lesnar didn't wait. He fired back immediately with a real punch. You could hear him yelling, telling Strowman to slow down. It was raw, instinctive, and completely unfiltered. That moment showed exactly what happens when things get too real with someone like Lesnar. And finally, Kurt Angle. During a segment on Tough Enough, what was supposed to be a controlled demonstration turned dangerous when Daniel Puder locked him in a legitimate submission hold. For a moment, it looked like things could go wrong. The situation was quickly ended, but Angle's reaction was immediate. He went after Puder, clearly furious. Because for him, it wasn't just about the hold, it was about respect, about control, about not being put in a position where things could spiral out of control on live television. And in that moment, his anger was completely real. These moments remind us that no matter how scripted WWE may be, it's still performed by real people, and sometimes those real emotions break through in ways that can't be planned, controlled, or hidden. And honestly, that's what makes it so fascinating to watch.